Hey guys, Mr. Backward here. In this video, we're going to look at limits at infinity. So as we're looking at limits at infinity, when we write the limit of f of x equals L as x is approaching infinity, what we mean is that our function values, our f of x values, are getting arbitrarily close to that L value as our x values are getting arbitrarily large. Now here's what I want you to think about. Imagine we have a jug, and inside of that jug is 1 gallon of milk. And we want to take that 1 gallon of milk and split it up equally amongst different numbers of cups. So I'm going to draw a table to help us represent this so that we can keep track of what's happening in here. So this first column is going to represent the number of cups that we're using. This second column is going to be the amount per cup. And this last column is going to be our total amount of milk. And let's start with 1 cup. If we have 1 cup that we're putting 1 gallon of milk in, then the amount per cup is going to be 1 gallon for a total amount of 1 gallon of milk. Now let's say we up the number of cups, and let's say we maybe go 10 cups. And what we're going to do is we're going to look at what happens as the number of cups gets larger and larger. So now what we're doing is we're taking our 1 gallon of milk and we're splitting it equally amongst the 10 cups. So if I take 1 gallon and divide it by 10, then I should get 0.1 gallons, or 1/10 of a gallon. Now if we have 1/10 of a gallon in 10 cups, then we still have a total of 1 gallon. Now let's up that number to 100 cups. If we take 1 gallon divided by 100 cups, then we're going to get 0.01 gallons per cup. And since we've got 0.01 gallons per cup and 100 cups, we're still going to have a total of 1 gallon of milk. If we up this to 1,000, then taking that 1 gallon divided by 1,000, it's going to be 0.001 gallons per cup, but we still have a total of 1 gallon. Now we could continue this pattern, and what we're going to notice is that this decimal keeps getting smaller and smaller. So if we continued this out forever and ever, all the way out to infinity, as this decimal is getting smaller and smaller and smaller, that value is getting closer and closer to 0. So as we start dealing with an infinite amount of cups, taking our 1 gallon and splitting it equally amongst an infinite amount of cups, we're going to essentially end up with 0 gallons of milk per cup. So the amount of milk in each cup is going to be so small that you can't even tell that there's any milk in there. But we're still going to have a total of 1 gallon if we add up the total amount in each cup. Now there's actually 2 different limits that we can write out here. And I'm first going to focus on the amount of milk per cup. Now what's happening in here is we were taking this 1 gallon of milk that we started with and we were dividing it equally by the number of cups. I'm going to use N to represent my number of cups. So what we're working with here is our 1 gallon and we're dividing it by an N number of cups. Now I'm going to take the limit as this N value, as this number of cups approaches infinity. Then what we saw is because our decimal kept getting smaller and smaller and smaller, then this limit is approaching 0. Now we can also write out something similar for our total gallons. So again, if we deal with that 1 over N, which is representing the amount of milk per cup, but if we multiply that by N, because we have N cups, then when we take the limit of this as N is approaching infinity, every single time we still had a total of 1 gallon, regardless of how many cups we were dealing with. Now this may seem kind of weird what's happening in here, especially with this last line of information. In that second column, we're saying that there's essentially 0 gallons of milk per cup, but if we add up the total amount, then we're still going to get 1 gallon. So when we think about typical algebraic techniques, this last line, adding up that infinite amount of zeros to get 1 gallon, seems like a little bit of an algebraic impossibility, but when we start to think about and involve limits, it starts to be a little bit more plausible. That's going to be it for this video. Thanks for watching.